think we made it.
I love that music.
We are live. I know you starting to get into that, aren't you, Javi?
Yep. Good stuff.
All right. Well, we are live. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I want to explain right off the bat here before I forget. As you know, when I've done some of these live streams with this new StreamYard platform, the first 2 or 3 I did, and when I was trying to live stream out to 3 or 4 places like YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope, whenever I would do it, I would set up a YouTube ahead of time, schedule a YouTube live event, and then every time I'd go live, it would start a different stream, and we had to play Let's Go Find Dave, So last week, and I had some people comment, say, well, where's the link? What I do is I'm just putting a link to my YouTube channel now, and if you're subscribed to me and have the little bell check, you'll get notifications when it goes live. I see we already had several folks watching when I looked a while ago. And so what I do is I go ahead and click, I start 5 minutes early. And in fact, it's just now 8 o'clock, and click the go live button, have that little background that says that we're going to be starting soon. And that way Restream will create the stream. And then I go to YouTube while y'all are coming in. I go to YouTube and add all the information, the links and stuff like that. So when I say tonight that there's a link below in the description, if you don't see it, refresh your page and it's there because I just put it there. But if you got on and joined the stream before I did that, then you're probably not going to see it. But there's going to be links and stuff down below in the description. So just want to try to clear that up for the folks that watch on YouTube, because I know the other thing that's weird is this thing is supposed to be telling me how many that's watching on YouTube, and I know it's not correct, because if I go over there to YouTube itself, it says there's 44 watching, and this thing tells me, well, it says 5. So I don't know why there's a big difference. Why it's saying 5, but anyway, doesn't matter. I know you're out there. Let's check the comments over here. Looks like we've already got a bunch of folks. Let's go through here. We've got David at Portal Woodworks, Skip Evans, Darren Birds, Woodshop Dog. Oh, that's Steve Atkins, Mike Haichu, Rick Palicki, I think is how you say that. Jimbo Burt, roll tide, buddy. Oh, that was me. Awesome Wood Things, Matt Haas, an awesome piano man, as I'm going to refer to him now. Dave Matthews, good to see you here, Dave. Thomas Grimm. Russ Meadows from Facebook. How you doing, Russ? We got Alan Lee. I'm going to just kind of click through some of these real fast. We got Frankie's. We got Harry's Place. That Mark Lindsay CNC guys out there. Hello, Mark.
Oh, not that guy.
Ed Newman. Yeah, I know. Hello from Alabama. He says, Steve from Harnell Media. Welcome, Steve. Wood Bucket, Gary Brady. Still got a bunch here to go. Oh, okay. I'll just kind of rattle them off here. We got Glenn Helwig, Patrick is in the shop, Travis,
Jeff Connor, Patrick.
That sounds like a new name there. Kevin Dolan. I don't know if I've seen him. Michael. Looks like we got some new folks out there. So welcome. If this is your first time watching this show, the name kind of gives some of it away, but we basically talk about hobby CNC, not just my brands, not just Gatton CNC and GarageWorks CNC, but anything kind of general CNC. And I wanted to mention I did a poll. What are you doing over there, Javi?
Sorry. Hey, I thought hang on a second. I got the wrong mic on thing. I wanted to focus the camera a little better.
Okay, looks all right. Looks good.
Can tell you were a Boy Scout.
I'm telling you.
I did a Facebook poll. I know how y'all love my Facebook polls, and I was asking about how many have calibrated their machines, and I was really surprised by the answers because I thought it would be kind of about 50-50. That some people said, no, I haven't bothered, and others have, but the totals, I hadn't looked at it lately, but it was like, I think about 50 people had said they'd calibrated, and probably around 10 or less than 15 said they hadn't. And of course, about a dozen people or so, I think, said, hey, let's do a show on it. So I thought about doing a show on it, but we're going to touch on it just a little bit tonight, right here at the get-go. But the big news of the week is really
version 10.
The V-Carve Pro version 10 is out, and that's the hot topic of the week. So, but anyway, I also want to give a shout out to Larry Galt, and the reason I'm giving him a shout out, I don't know if he's out there. I don't see.
Yeah, I saw him out there.
Is he out there? Okay. Yeah, I want to give him a shout out because, and not just him, but some other people too have asked, you know, they like the show and they want to help support the show and stuff like that. And they've asked, do I have a Patreon page? And no, I do not have a Patreon page. I don't really want a Patreon page, but I do have, and here I go, talking about links in the description. There's a link, but I have one of these PayPal Me things. So if you want to make a donation to help support the show, you know, you can go to that link and leave a donation. And, you know, I like that better than the Patreon thing. So, you know, and when I get people that help support the show like that, it makes me want to give stuff away, you know. So, and we are also going to be having a drawing later tonight too. So, anyway, so thanks, Larry, for your donation. I think it was last week or whatever, and to all the people that have done the super.
David Jones says he hasn't calibrated his Gatton yet. He's got to get it out of the box and build it first.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to calibrate when it's still in the box for sure. Okay, let's see. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to my buddy Grant Davis. I don't know if y'all been seeing the stuff he posts on Facebook over there, but he's, you know, he was one of those that took forever to get his garage works built. But now that he has, considering he doesn't have a lot of shop time, because he, you know, if you know Grant, you know he travels all the time. But he's really killing it when he's there at the house because he gets out there and he's doing all kinds of signs and plaques and just doing a good job. So I don't know if he's over there. He may not be watching, but anyway, I want to give him a shout out too. All right, so I think we've covered this. We got a lot to talk about here, so let's get right started on the calibration thing. I'm just going to give you my 2 cents worth. Like I said, I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this because we got bigger fish to fry tonight. But I did a video, and there's a link, you guessed it, down in the description for a video. And the video is called Making Test Cuts with My Gatton CNC. And it was actually my buddy Jim's Gatton CNC because it's the one I built for the videos, and then I gave it to him. But I showed how I use this little test part, you know, to do it. And let's see if I got this. Yeah, this is the part right here. It's just simple. It's because I only have calipers that are 6-inch. And if you don't have a set of these, I've got some links down below for some cheap ones, some 6 and 12-inch. If you don't know how to read dial calipers, there's a couple links for digital calipers. If you know, that's easy to do. But I would really recommend anybody learn how to read dial calipers. They're, you know, you don't have to worry about whether the battery's not reading right or something when you got those. But anyway, so I just made a simple part like this. This part is like basically a 4-inch square. And then I think that's a 3/8 hole right here. This is just a little hole that I cut this is exactly 3/4 by 3/4. So that's something to measure there. This is a 1/2 inch hole. And then of course, when you look at this, you'll see that, let me try one of these. Okay. You'll see that before I pulled it out of the thing too, you can see I had some hefty tabs so it wouldn't move, that I mark which axis is which. And basically I just, run one of these, measure with calipers, and I'm going to give you my spiel on the caliper deal, because I know a lot of guys will just use a long rule and they'll say, well, it's better if you try to go from one end of the table and all that. And I'll explain why I don't like that method here in just a second. But anyway, you just check this, and then you go to the Mach 3 calibration, pull up that axis. And in this case, since this is supposed to be a 4x4 square, on the X, when it says how far do you want it to move, I say 4 inches, and then it says how far did it move, 4 inches and 15 thou or whatever, and it all automatically recalculates that. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time tonight going through that process. If I'm going to do that, I really need to do it when I'm live from the garage, and maybe I'll do that next week. It's finally getting a little bit cooler. But anyway, a simple little thing like this. And if you want to, check, you can do this down like towards the lower left-hand portion of your table, and you could run one of these and spread it around on the table just to see. But that's how I do it, and I've gotten good results. You can dial it in pretty dang, within a thou or two, if not dead nuts on the thing. But if you watch on YouTube, you'll see a lot of folks that get a steel rule, 3 or 4 foot rule, and they'll lay it down, and then they'll put a pointed bit in the thing and move it around and all that. And I don't really like that method, because you're relying on your eye to determine where it is on that steel rule. And I can guarantee you, we got 4 people here tonight, Mark, Javi, and Jim. I could lay a steel rule down and move that to a point that's in between 2 lines, and probably all 4 of us would have a different guess at what that is.
Right.
In thousands. It's just, it's just not that reliable. That's why I say, if you've got, this is a 4x4 block, because I've got 6-inch calipers, I could have made it, 5.5 by 5.5 or whatever. If you got 12-inch calipers, make something that's 11 by 11 or whatever. Try to make it as big as you can, but make sure you've still got something accurate to measure it with. The tape measures and all that. I've worked around people all the time and had to do quality control and stuff like that. And I've seen people that take a tape measure. I don't really have a good way to show this, but they'll take a tape measure, and if this part is running short, now I'm talking about operators that run equipment, that want to try to show that they're getting a good part. If they measure across here and it's not right, and it's better when it's a longer part, they'll kind of bring it down at an angle and go, yeah, I'm not short. See, but the tape measure is running like that. That's why I don't like tape measures. Are good to get you within maybe a 32nd or 64th, maybe, if you got good eyes, but nothing beats something like this. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I don't see any questions over there. I don't see any. But anyhow, let's one other thing I want to talk about, and then we'll get on to the V-Carve Pro stuff. I wanted to mention this, and let me see if I can, while I'm doing this.
I have a question when you're done.
Okay, go right ahead, Mark. I'll try to listen.
Okay. Well, my question is this: how did you calibrate your Z-axis? Or did I miss that part?
Well, I haven't really calibrated my Z-axis. I mean, you would do the same thing, but you would have to have
A 1, 2, 3 block or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to be using a touch plate or something, because if you don't have that and you're just using the knob and bringing it down to, with a piece of paper or something like that, you're just guessing anyway. So, I don't think for most things the Z-axis probably isn't near as important as the X and the Y, because if you're doing a V-carve, does it really matter if that V bit goes 10 thousandths more than what it should? I mean, it's not going to make that big of a difference to the overall thing. And really, if you're doing those kind of projects, the calibration in general doesn't make that big a difference, because if you're doing a V-carve thing of the Last Supper or whatever, and you program it for 12 inches, and then you get done, you pull a tape on it, and it's 12 and 30 thousandths. Does it really matter? No. It's only when you're making parts that have to fit together.
Right.
That's when that kind of thing. And and for me, I do that kind of thing. I make parts that have to fit in a pocket and stuff like that. So, but anyway, one more thing I want to talk about real quick. Did that answer your question, Mark?
Well, it did. I used my touch plate and some gauge blocks, and it worked out for me. So I just
I mean, you got to have the equipment to really get it right. If you're really wanting to do that.
Okay.
All right, let's do one other quick thing. I had a person, and I'm not going to mention her name because, well, to be honest, I forgot who it was. But I had somebody Facebook message me Thursday night. I'm sitting there getting ready to watch the circus on TV, otherwise known as the Democratic debate.
National debate, yeah.
And I got a message, and it was somebody that had, and Mark, you may know who it is, because I think they had talked to you and you recommended they contact me or something. But anyway, they were having an issue with their machine. They were trying to run something, and no matter what they did, he had it programmed to cut 0.54, just over a half an inch deep. And he said every time he ran it, it would only go about 0.32 or something like that. So, here I am. I'm sitting there trying to do this, punching stuff on Facebook Messenger, and so I go through some of the usual questions. I said, well, always check the mechanical stuff first. So he had actually thought that it was maybe his coupler or something on his Z, so I think he got a new one of those and put on there and was still doing it. And then I was asking him some other questions, and then I had to go, wait a minute. I'm assuming that this person has checked really the most basic thing. And that was my fault, because I really could have, if I'd have thought of that a little quicker. But, sometimes you it's like you don't want to say, well, is it plugged in? You don't want to sound too funny. But anyway, what it ended up being was, I said, well, have you checked to see if that bit is slipping in the collet?
Oh, man.
So he pulled the bit, and he was using a 1/8 inch bit, and he pulled that out and put in a quarter inch bit, and then ran that program. And of course, it cut all the way through, just like it was. And so then he went back and put that other bit in, and I guess he's using a different collet from, it's a 1/8 inch bit. I'm assuming he's using a smaller collet too. Well, I guess he's having trouble getting it tight enough, and it's slipping or whatever, because when you went to run that again, it did the same kind of thing. So what I wanted to point out here is I've got another quick screen share here. and this is just Mach 3. I wanted to show folks something that this is a really handy tool that you can use. And when you go to this Toolpath tab right here, oh, I should have, hold on here. Let me load something in here. My bad. I should have had a, let me just, okay, I'll just put that test program that, but if you come here very quickly at a glance, now this test piece I made out of 1/2 inch MDF. So if you come over here and look at this program limits, at just a quick glance, I know that the Z-axis, the highest it's ever going to be is 0.8. The lowest it's ever going to be is 0.51. So you can see that I've actually got it going 10 thousandths past the thickness of this, assuming this piece is probably swollen up now because I've been using it for a coaster out there in the shop. But anyway, that's what I was telling that guy when I said, well, let's, show me a picture of your Toolpath thing. And it did in fact have 0.54 over here. Well, when I saw that, I'm like, well, it's nothing in his program. And if he knows his coupling is tight, it's got to be slipping somewhere else. And that's kind of what made the bell go off is, so a lot of times real quick, you can look here and see. And of course, another thing too, you see that my X is 2.135 negative and 2.135 positive. So that tells you that I've programmed it to start in the middle. So this is some really good information, particularly the Z-axis. If you're having any kind of problems, you don't have to go through and go to edit your program and go looking to see if you got it right, all that. You can real quickly come here and check. And another thing is if you screw up, say you were getting ready to cut something that's 1/4 inch material and you forget, maybe the last thing you ran in V-Carve Pro was 3/8 thick or whatever, and you don't catch it and you program it and you come over here and the next thing you know, if you take a quick peek at this, you can go, wait a minute, 3/8, I don't even have that much material on there. It's only so it can save yourself from, eating up your spoil board pretty good on stuff like that. But that's, I use that quite a bit, and it's a nice little feature that Mach 3 has. All right, let's.
I'm wondering if he was using a reducer bushing and wasn't getting it clamped down enough.
It could be. I don't know, Mark. He just said that he was using a 1/8 inch bit, and I never bothered to ask if it was a 1/8 collet or if he had a muscle chuck, whatever it was. I didn't ask him any of that.
Yeah, if he had a muscle chuck, he wouldn't have had that problem. I have yet to. I don't care what I put in it. When I tighten it down, I've not had one bit of run out or loss on that muscle chuck. I don't know if everybody's the same. If anybody's had the similar experience, but I swear by that thing.
Yeah, Harry says wipe the shipping off new bits to save some slipping. Yeah, because some of them will be a little
the lubricant.
Yeah, a little greasy when you get them.
I came across that problem.
It could be undersized,
I came across that problem with the lubricant myself, and now brand new bits, I clean them up with some naphtha before I ever put them in the collet.
Yeah. So
one of the other things too, Dave, is that if you buy cheap bits on Amazon or that they're really millimeters, they're not imperial. And if you buy an exact, like from Whiteside, an 1/8 inch, that bit will be loose in the collet. And you really got to honker that thing down to make it stick. So you got to be careful what bits you're using.
It's always a good idea. Again, that's why these things are super handy, is when you get a new bit and you pull it out of the package, stick that on the shank and see what you got. Because some of them may, you get a 1/4 inch bit, it may be 252, it may be 251, it may be 249. They had all that stuff. Everybody, may think that this stuff, when you buy it, it's all perfect. It's as close to perfect as their tolerances say they're going to do. You know, if they say, well, we're going to have it ±1, it'll be within ±1, or it'll get rejected, or it should get rejected unless it gets by their QC guy.
It's funny you say that, Dave, because I had a 1/4-inch bit that I bought. It was a cheap Chinese bit that was actually 3/16. You talk about being off. Not the shank, the actual carbide bit itself.
Yeah.
That's
okay. Let's. I don't want to get stuck talking on.
Yeah.
You don't want to do another show on router bits?
If anybody wants me to show the calibration, and I'll be happy to do that, but I'll do that when I'm going to be out at the shop. I can do that next week or whenever. It won't take that long. But like I said, I did put a link to a video where I show how I do it, and it's not hard to do. And again, a lot of times when you cut the first piece, you might measure this and go, well, I'm within 5 both ways. That's good enough. And don't even do the calibration. Yeah. I mean, we're not building space shuttles here, guys.
Sounds like a good.
All right. So
to me.
Let me get over here, and I'm going to go find the. I don't know how y'all wanted to discuss this V-Carve Pro, but I thought I would go to their website and then just screen share where it talks about the new features, and we will go from there. Let me see if I can pull that over here.
Just a little tip here to everybody out here listening. If you are not subscribed to Vectric's YouTube channel, you really should think about it. The same morning version 10 became live, ready for upgrading. That morning, they uploaded over 100 videos onto their YouTube channel. And a lot of them were some of their older tutorials that they remade with version 10. But the highlight, the takeaway from this is they went through all of their software titles from Cut 2D up to Aspire and showed each new feature within the software. And I mean, really went into detail. It's about a half-hour long video for Aspire and about 25 minutes for V-Carve. But they really did a good job on incorporating the new features into the old tutorials, which I've been going through myself, and showing all the new stuff that came out in this version. It's really worth your time to look up Vectric on YouTube and subscribe to their channel. And like I say, it was a bunch of videos, but you'll find what's new in version 10 for your software title, no matter what you got.
Right. Yeah, I've been subscribed to their channel for a long time. And I will say, in fact, I even commented back to you, I think, Mark, and I haven't checked out all of them because, good Lord, they dumped a ton of them that same day or before then. But the one that I watched, the more I listened to him, I'm thinking, wow, this guy didn't have that real thick accent, a Cockney accent like a lot of them have. But then I heard the guy say so I think he was probably Canadian, which is fine because at least they're a lot easier to understand than some of those ones that have that really thick accent.
British accent. Yeah.
But, and again, there's two places you want to watch videos. One is Vectric. The other one, of course, is this guy right here in the upper right of my screen here, because Vectric, sometimes they're trying to show you how to do a specific thing and they go a little quick. I don't mind that because I usually have their screen, on one monitor, and have my software open on the other monitors, so I'm, listen till they say, okay, you do this, and because if I go more than 2 steps, I forget what the third one was. So I'll do like, okay, I stop it, and then I come over here and I do that step, and I go back. So it still takes a long time to watch the video, even though theirs may be 15 minutes. But then you could go Mark's, and his video may be 30 minutes, but you don't have to stop and start it because he explains it in such great detail. So you should be subscribed to both Vectric and Mark Lindsay CNC.
Well, thank you.
Whichever style works best for you, or you watch them both, you probably get something out of both of them.
Vectric's main concern is they have to cater to everybody, from the guy who's just beginning to the expert user. So they have to try to cater to everybody. They got to try to get as much information out as they possibly can. I take the time to slow down and get real basic. And I don't mean to be condescending to anybody or talk down to anybody. That's really not my goal there. My goal is to try to get folks to have that little light bulb moment going, aha, that's why that does that. And so sometimes I go overboard in the descriptions, but it's, I thank you for that, Dave. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. Larry makes a good comment here. And I'll agree with this too, that a lot of times those guys with the thick accent are hard to understand, but for some reason, women, even though they have the same accent, they're easier to understand. And I don't know whether that goes back to, somebody told me once that a lot of times police dispatchers and stuff like that use women because they're easier to understand over a radio like that. Yeah. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but
the higher pitched voice is easier to understand. The higher registers. That is true.
All right, let's get started on this. You guys over here, Jim, Javi, and Mark, I'm just going to kind of scroll through this, and let me get. Let's see if this is the right spot. Okay, this is where it starts talking about the updates. It says node editing can now be performed on multiple vectors selected at the same time. And if you watch, I guess over here they're showing how they do that.
Yeah, that's a great feature.
And it immediately made last week's video on my channel obsolete, because now you can edit multiple, like she's doing there, or like they're doing there on the screen. You can edit multiple vectors at the same time. Then you can remove a span from one vector, remove a span from another, and join them right there.
Yeah. Well, it didn't, I can assure you, Mark, it didn't make your video obsolete, because there's a lot of people that are balking at that $175 thing. They're like, nah, I think I'm just going to sit on this for a while.
Well, just fair warning, if you have Aspire, it's $400.
Yeah, it cost me $400 for the upgrade.
Yeah.
And in fact, they're showing that right there. In that one there.
Yeah, this one right here.
Yeah, they're showing that in that little animation, how you can take and highlight the 2 points and then connect them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's a good improvement then.
It's a very useful feature, very useful. You don't have to know, no longer do you have to adjust nodes one by one. For those of you that use bit trace an awful lot and work with nodes, I do it constantly. It's a very, very, it's a time saver.
It is big time.
All right, now I'm going to confess, when I read some of these, and this next one is one of them, when I saw this, I'm like, okay, but how did they do it before? Because I didn't realize this was
what it was if you rotated a part, it still drew a square box around that part, and your object was rotated within that square box. So now the rotation box follows the part as you rotate it. It's a subtle change, but it does make a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's just not something I've done a lot of, and that's why I didn't know you know, when I saw that, I'm like, okay, cool, but how did they do it before? I don't remember. Okay, now this is still talking about the rotation. You can rotate objects to an absolute value as well as relative value to the current bounds.
Right.
Working with rotated objects in the mirror tool, we can check the option to use rotated bounds, and all mirroring applications will be relative to the bounds of the rotated object.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Andrew makes a good point. If you stretched a rotated object, it was skewed, and now with the new rotation tools, it's a lot easier to
Yes. It maintains perspective.
it maintains perspective to re-rotate it without skewing it.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you know, when I've rotated something, I've always just drawn a box around it and then put the number in, you know, what degree I want it
Right.
to rotate.
Right. But then if you rotated something and then went to resize it, your measurement would be off just a little bit, because that bounding box around the object was the square drawn around it, not the physical outline of the part.
Yeah. And I guess this is the same thing when importing bitmaps. You now have the ability to rotate it directly in the software using the rotation handles on the corners of the image.
Yep.
And again, I guess before I'd always just put a box around it. And
before you had to rotate it in your image editing program, but once you had a bitmap in, you couldn't rotate it. You could scale it, resize it, do all that, but you couldn't rotate the bitmap.
Okay.
So it's just a small thing, but it was something that was a pain in the rear end if you do a lot of bitmap tracing.
Yep.
Okay, now this here font list favorites.
It's a nice feature.
I haven't really even read this one. The font list in both the create text and create text within a vector box will now, it'll save the 5 most recently used fonts.
Right.
I could have sworn they had that in the most recent version.
But
well, they do have that in the most recent version. That's what they're saying.
I mean, not 10, but the one before
9.5.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't remember.
yeah,
But also they say
I
in
don't
there.
know about Aspire, but it wasn't in V-Carve Pro, because I know I've got a buku of fonts.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You have like 1,000 fonts, and you use like they said, 5 or 6 of them.
Well, but you can also get into your program options. It's set factory default to the most recent 5. You can get into the program options and you can change that number so it'll do the most recent 10 or 7 or however many you want. And if you don't want to use that at all, you just enter 0 and it won't put anything up in the favorites list. But you can change the number of fonts it'll store in your favorites.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be 5. You can change it.
You can change it, yes.
Yeah, it looks like Larry Galt saying he made his 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, moving on here. We got welding text.
That's actually pretty big if you do a lot of script text.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because before you had to convert the text to curves, then go select all of the outside perimeters of the
add them together
and weld them. Now you can just grab the text objects and hit weld, and it does it all one click.
Oh, so now I never did like having to, convert it to curves, because it's almost like you've got to save a copy of text just in case you get. Yeah, this will be a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you do a lot of script text,
you can still go in and change the little boo-boos in that, not just the welding part. So if you have a point that goes off and makes it, you can then go to the troubleshooter and it'll tell you which other things you can fix.
Right. Intersections and what have you. Yes, it will.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm liking that. And this next one I really like, because I always thought it was kind of lame that you had to me, jump through hoops to get that text on an arc just the way you want it.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, that looks way easier than the way it was before.
They also made it a little bit easier to change the rotation point too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, now this one, again, when I saw this one, I'm thinking, I didn't even realize that this didn't have this side length down here. I guess I just don't use it that much. But apparently this wasn't here, and it just had these other things. So you would draw one, but you didn't really know how long that side was until you measured it and then had to go back and adjust it, I guess. But now you can just put it in there if you want a 2-inch side, and it'll make them all 2 inches long. So that may not be that big a deal, but it's still a nice feature. All right, let's see here. Shape editing shortcut. We have a shortcut to quickly get you into a shape form for further editing.
Yep. Some folks prefer to use keyboard shortcuts, and I'm one of them. And before, what you had to do if you wanted to edit like that 5-pointed star, make it a little bit bigger, you would have to select the star and go over and find the icon for the star and click into it to go back in to edit it. Now all you do is you select the star, you type the letter E on the keyboard, and you go straight back into whatever tool that vector was created with. So you can edit it there. It's just a shortcut, a quicker way to get into.
Oh, okay.
So it's just a quicker way to get in and be able to edit that shape.
I see. Okay. So whether it's a circle or a star or rectangle, whatever, you just type that E and it knows to go to the last one that was used to create it?
Yep. So you'd select the vector and then hit E, and it'll go back in to that vector creation tool.
Okay.
So you can edit it. This one is going to be big too. The space selection behavior, that's going to be big.
Says space selection controls in the alignment tools form will now maintain the X or Y ordering of any selected vectors and space them between the top and bottom or left and right items in the selection, regardless of what order we selected the vectors in.
Right.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So you can throw up a couple, 3 or 4 lines of text, separate text objects or separate vectors, and then select them all and space them evenly.
Yep.
Should you want.
Okay. All right. This here's got to be a biggie, I would think. Nesting and double-sided nesting.
Yeah, I don't use nesting personally, but they've made some big improvements to it in the way it's displayed. It's like they're showing now that part in the top row on the center. It's actually like a bar with a donut in the center.
Yeah, right here.
When you go to nest it, it actually it looks at where that donut and where that bar is, and it draws a big heavy outline around the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it marks those in black, and then any holes it marks as in brown, so that if you have create a part within a part or nest a part within a part selected, it'll look to see, can it put a part in there for you to cut out of that waste material.
Yep.
So,
the old nesting, I won't say I haven't used it because I have, but I usually just use it to give me a quick idea because I've never found it to put the nest the way I want it.
Right.
And so I usually end up moving stuff around, and then usually I find out that I can even squeeze something else in there after I've moved it around some. Not always, but a lot of times. So
right.
I don't know that
I'm the same way, and I don't use it very often at all.
Yeah, I don't know that a hobbyist would use a lot of the nesting.
Rob Hampton had a question. Does Vectric do a discount to change from a different brand of CAD/CAM art software? No, unless it's a Vectric product.
Right.
For an upgrade.
That'll just answer that entirely. Vectric does not offer discounts at all. They don't offer discounts at all. The only price break you get is if you're upgrading from one Vectric product to another. They will credit you with the purchase price of the program you're upgrading from. So,
provided it's a recent program.
well, yeah. If you're going from V-Carve to Aspire, you only pay the difference in price between V-Carve and Aspire.
Right.
But they don't offer any kind of discounts. They don't do military. They don't do veterans. They don't do education. Nothing.
Karen, a muscle chuck is a replacement for your collet on a bit. Just go to musclechuck.com or Google muscle chuck. It's a like a clamping rather than it's a different way of holding a bit, and it's in my opinion much more reliable. Won't go into that, but
Yeah, they give you a T-handle Allen wrench or Allen key to tighten it up, which makes it a little easier for some folks. I personally wasn't a big fan of it. I mean, it's not that I didn't like it, but again, I'm old school. I've been doing it with wrenches for so long. It's not that big a deal to me to use the wrench.
I put mine on my router table, and I love it because my collet was difficult to get to on my router table. It was a pain in the rear end. I put the muscle chuck on my router table, and I love it. I can reach in there with that long.
Well, I took mine, I had my muscle chuck sitting over beside my machine. And of course, now I'm running a laser on that machine. So it was just sitting there. And when I did my router table insert in my table saw, I thought, hey, I'm going to do that. That'll be easier than fooling with those wrenches, because the wrenches are a little difficult with that. But then I found that it wouldn't work because when I added that, it added some extra height, so it wouldn't go down far enough. So I couldn't use it. I had to take it back off. But
it will give you an extra half an inch to an inch if you've got the space. Take advantage of it. I've got muscle chucks on every single one of my CNCs and my router table. I swear by them. Rather than clamping a standard collet where you're squeezing and it's squeezing it this way, a muscle chuck is basically, if you look at it from the bottom, it's basically a ring, and and it's one screw that you're causing the entire ring to squeeze the bit. It's
now on a CNC, it does take away about a half inch of your Z capacity. But if you use a lot of half-inch bits, I could see they would be invaluable. They would really be worth the money. But since I use a lot of 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch bits, I've got a dedicated 1/8 inch collet, and that's what I use for 1/8 inch bits. I don't like reducer sleeves. I never have. And
that's the beauty of the muscle chuck. Even with a reducer, I've gone to 1/16 inch bits on my 1/2 inch collet and the reducers, they hold like a mother hen. I mean, it's tight. I mean, there's no issue whatsoever with slippage. But I mean, I enjoy it.
I just didn't find that I was saving any time pulling the bit out of there, taking the reducer sleeve off of the bit, putting it onto the next bit, and then putting it in there. I wasn't really saving any time. So.
Yeah, I have multiple reducers, so I always have one ready. But the 5 to 10 seconds it takes to swap a bit. I mean, people like Dave that have been using wrenches for years. I suppose you're used to it, and I've been using wrenches. I still can't change. It takes me 30 seconds to truly, and then I get the knuckle buster.
Yeah.
When the wrenches slip.
Not only that, I have multiple collets. So I'm running 1/4 inch bit in the CNC. I've got another 1/4 inch collet over here off to the side with the next bit already preloaded in it, ready to go. So I just pull one off and put a new one on.
Yeah, I slip them out and slip them in with the muscle chuck, and it's a 1/4 turn of my T handle, and I'm done. But Anyways.
Yeah, I keep saying, because I hear people say all the time, well, I like the muscle chuck because when I use the wrenches, I'm always banging my knuckles and stuff. And I keep thinking one of these days I'm going to do a video on the proper way to use wrenches.
Right, to squeeze them together.
The right way, you never, it doesn't, you're doing it wrong. That's all I can say. If you're busting your knuckles,
just got to be smarter than a wrench. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. All righty. Let's keep on the
upgrade
stuff here. I ended up getting a package, with, I don't know about the Aspire. I'm assuming it's the same, but with the V-Carve Pro upgrade, they let you pick from a certain thing, a 3D package. And I got one that's some architectural stuff.
Oh, you got that one. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not into the animals and stuff like that, and the cowboys, all that kind of stuff, which is kind of what they're showing here. But I think, they had like 3 or 4 different ones that was this fancy flourishes and, that kind of stuff. And I thought, well, I'd probably use that more than I would the other. Although I really, me, I'm not into making much fancy stuff. But let's see, the new 2D Clipart V-Carve.
Yep. There are some pretty interesting clip art that they added in this version.
Oh, yeah, they're showing one of the games. I noticed there was a bunch of these pegboard games or what. I'm not sure what they're called.
It's a little known fact that there are some Vectric employees that are members of various CNC groups on Facebook, and they watch what people are making. And they have 3 different types of cribbage boards. That's one there, the oval cribbage board.
Yeah.
They have an oval, they have a circle, they have a rectangle. And people were constantly asking for layouts for cribbage boards so they could put their own artwork in the center. And I don't play cribbage. I know several people who do, and I'm here to tell you, they love their cribbage boards. If you make a cribbage board and you put some 3D art or even V-Carve a name in the center of it, you've got a seller. You've got something that will sell because people loves their custom cribbage boards.
Yeah, there's a guy in Michigan that makes them with inlays, and he sells every board he makes.
Yeah. I'm serious, and folks will pay a pretty penny for a custom cribbage board, especially if you can get fancy and so that you flip it over and have a sliding panel that holds your deck of cards and all your pegs.
Yeah, that's what this guy does also, man. He does phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. They love their cribbage boards. Also included in that 2D clip art, they have some rotary profiles that you can download and, or throw into your material out there into your project, and then use the rotary axis wrapping and turn some pretty cool profiles. I've been going to do a video on this forever. I just haven't had the time to get out into the shop and chuck a piece of material into the rotary axis and show how to do that. It's on the list before anybody starts. It's on the list. Believe me, I'll get to it.
Barry's asking if we can share these clip arts. Well, not legally.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I left that up there and I moved so I wasn't covering up Mr. Santacola there. But I wanted to point that out. When Vectric says, here's some free clip art that comes with your software, it's still not yours to share. It's really not free. It just comes with the software. And I've seen people that will try to share. In fact, I don't remember who it was, but the other week or so ago, somebody was in the Facebook group and they were trying to share something that comes with V-Carve Pro. And they were trying to share it. And I'm like, that's not yours to share. I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was you, Barry, or somebody else. But it's really simple, folks. If you didn't create it, you ought not be sharing it.
As many people as balk at the price, it is still a fantastic price for the product that you are getting overall. It's well worth it, and you can easily make the money back having the product. So if you have a CNC, so
not only that, but if you have the software, you have that Clipart. It's there. Go over to your Clipart tab. If it's not downloaded to your computer, you'll see a little symbol down in the bottom right corner. Click on that and it downloads it for you. If you have a legally licensed copy of that software, you have the Clipart. There's really no need to share. And if it was created for version 10, it's not going to work for previous versions anyway, because they won't be able to load it.
Exactly.
Yeah, but yeah, that's exactly right. But like I said, I don't like when I see people trying to share stuff that's not theirs to share. And if I see it in my group, I'll delete it in a heartbeat. And if I see it very much, they're going to get the boot too.
Yeah.
I've had to give the boot to a few people here lately because they obviously joined the group for other reasons than, try to help out people and be part of a group. They were there for their own interests. So
I'm the same way in any of the groups that I admin as well.
Yeah. All right, let's I don't know how much more we got. Oh, according to this thing over here, we're only about halfway down this thing. Okay, let's go copy.
Keep going. You still haven't reached the reason why I upgraded. Although these are all fantastic upgrades so far, every single one.
Well, I'm sure we're going to get to it here. Well, this isn't the Spire though. We're just looking at V-Carve.
No, even so, V-Carve has it.
Okay, this looks pretty interesting. Easily copy components into other levels of your job by simply holding down the control key on the keyboard while dragging the component into a different level, ensuring that your assembled part.
Right.
A one click copy and move to another layer.
Right. Well, another level in 3D modeling.
Another level.
It used to be if you wanted for instance, of those footballs that they have in that demonstration there, you had to go into Clipart and copy 4 different footballs over there. Now you can put one in there and then just copy another one right there on the screen and not have to keep going back and forth between tabs.
Yeah, so that's pretty handy there.
Glenn is asking if you need both Aspire and V-Carve. No, it's Aspire has everything that V-Carve has in it, plus more. So if you have Aspire, you essentially have all of V-Carve, and it's a lot more expensive because of the 3D stuff that it has.
Right.
Yeah, that's why the Aspire is $2,000 and the V-Carve Pro is only $700.
And if you go to their website I believe on their products page, they have a direct heads-up comparison as to what each thing has. Cut 2D Desktop has this. Cut 2D Pro has this. V-Carve Desktop, V-Carve Pro, and Aspire. And so you can gauge what you want to use, what you want to get, and how much, based on what you're going to need, realistically.
Yeah, until I went looking for this today, Mark, I didn't even realize that they had a Cut 2D Desktop and a Cut 2D Pro. Yeah. I guess they're just trying to, for the people that have the small machines that 24 by 24 works for them, they don't have to pay for the higher price or something. But
you've got a lot of folks who just want to use it to draw out and drill PCB boards and stuff like that. They don't need V-carving. They don't need pocketing or anything like that. They just want to cut a profile and drill some holes. And if you're making small circuit boards, you don't need big.
Right.
So it doesn't make any sense to spend $700 on a program when you can get Cut 2D Desktop and spend $150 and be done with it.
Yeah.
So
okay, level clipping.
That's going to be big for folks who work with 3D as well.
Yeah. Just looking at that example, that makes it look really easy to do what they're doing there.
Yep.
Yeah, you used to have to actually duplicate the circle and subtract everything outside. No, I've done it dozens of times manually, and it's a pain in the butt. I mean, having that features, again, these are all extreme time savers.
Yeah, big time.
Okay, photo V-carving. Now, I have not even checked this out. So they've added a photo V-Carve Toolpath strategy to V-Carve Pro.
They're basically going to stop offering that separate program, Photo VCarve.
Yeah.
And they have taken that capability and incorporated it into VCarve Desktop, VCarve Pro, and Aspire. It's not in Cut 2D yet. It probably won't be.
Oh, looking forward to that.
But it basically they are discontinuing Photo VCarve and they're just putting it straight away into VCarve and Aspire.
So will I get a credit now because I bought Photo VCarve?
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait a second. What about my Photo VCarve?
Well, I bought the bundle. Let's tell you how long I've had this stuff, guys. Is when I bought the first Vectric products, I bought, you know how they do the little bundle thing?
Yeah.
I bought the V-Carve Pro and Photo V-Carve bundle. And of course, the Photo V-Carve hadn't really changed. It's been the same.
It's the same one.
And the V-Carve Pro, when I first bought it, was version 4.6.
You beat me. I had version 6 was mine, I believe.
Yeah.
I downloaded the trial version of 7.5 and bought it when 8.0 came out.
Yeah. So, well, it's not like, I've had that Photo VCarve all these years, and I really have only used it a handful of times. So maybe I might try using it more now that this feature is inside of VCarve Pro.
Yeah, I've used it once myself.
Well, you had to go through a import process too to bring it from the original program into like V-Carve Pro or Aspire.
Right.
So it was a standalone program, but then you had to do an import process of the output.
Yep. One of the things that I don't know if they've worked on this or not, but when I've done photos or different patterns with Photo VCarve, and I don't know if you remember, Mark, about a couple years ago, I was doing this surfboard design, and we were talking about it, and it did not allow me to do layer by what's a certain maximum cut depth. It basically created a toolpath that would be imported into Aspire or VCarve, but it was a 3D toolpath, and there was no way to have multiple layers shaving off.
Right.
In other words, you couldn't have a maximum 0.1 depth. It was basically if your piece was 3/4 of an inch, if your carve was 3/4 of an inch thick, that little tiny 1/16 roundover bit would go the full depth each.
The cheat for that was to run as many lines as you could physically fit on there that your bit would allow. I mean, and even on a 5x7, that may be 1,500 lines.
Yeah.
And that just narrowed down that space that the V-bit had to try to get into, and it wouldn't plunge as deep.
Yeah, and the way I ended up doing it, and it turned out perfect, but it took forever because it was I believe this one was like a 30-hour carve. I did it in I raised the Z height and just ran the whole entire job, then lowered the Z height, lowered the Z height, lowered the Z height. So I ran the thing 4 times at 30 hours each just to get it, just so I would do a 1/2 an inch carve
Plunge
on a
cut,
plunge cut on a.
All right, I want to know if I'm the only one that when I look at this picture of this couple here, when the picture gets big, if you put a little more hair on that guy, does that not look like Laney Shaughnessy?
Yeah. You need the glasses, but that'll work.
It's cold to bust on the man when he's not here to defend himself.
I mean, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying that guy looks kind of like Laney. Of course, I know that's not what his new gal looks like. So I'm sure that's not Laney.
Yeah, that's not what Laney looks like either, unless she got mad at him already with the scissors.
All right, let's talk about one of the big deals here.
This is
Not
huge.
that the other things weren't, but this is probably I'm guessing one of the coolest features that I've seen. Mark, have you delved into this very much?
Yes, I have. And I'm here to tell you this potentially could be a lot of work, or it could be very simple, just depending upon how you want to make it. Just a word of warning, something I found out was when you first load up the new version, it'll ask you if you want to merge your database from the old version into the new version. And that works great. It's excellent. It loads all the tools from 9.5 into version 10. But then up there where you're fixing to talk about, where it says material hardwood, you now have a category called imported. You then have to go in for each bit and select, are you going to use this in hardwood, softwood, whatever, and put it into the categories yourself. So,
You know, I think this is going to be a big deal for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
But, you know, the way I've always got around it before is I put a tool in my database and I'll set, a good feed rate for most things and a good plan, all that kind of stuff, all the settings.
Yeah.
And then if I like, say I know that of course I cut a lot of plywood. So if I go to pull in a 1/4-inch end mill and now all of a sudden I'm going to be cutting like some oak or something, this pretty hard stuff.
Yeah.
To me, it's not that big of a deal because I can just go to where my Toolpath is and instead of select, hit edit and just change the stuff
right
there just for that material. But I guess if you do a lot of different things, I'm not a good candidate for this because I don't do that many different things.
I do.
Well, I agree with you, Dave, but at the same time, I've done some projects where I've had 2 pieces of oak. One of them came reclaimed from my cousin, and another one was reclaimed from job site, some flooring. The flooring was red oak, and it was softer. It was a softer oak. I mean, obviously not as soft as pine, but it was very nice to carve. That other reclaimed oak from my cousin was practically as hard as ironwood. I mean, so even amongst the same type of wood, you can have different densities that require the manual touch.
And you have also different species, because like if I'm cutting something dense like maple, it'll react one way, where if I'm cutting something not as dense like mahogany, that kind of acts like pine in some ways, in that it'll peel off in strings. If you're running a certain direction, you do need different feeds and speeds. So what I'm finding great about it is I can set up tools for maple, because I cut a lot of maple. And then the feeds and speeds are already loaded for me. I don't have to, I've got my step over, my pass depth, everything. But then I can select another tool, the very same tool, and then select something like Wenge, which is real brittle and splintery, and use a different set of feeds and speeds. And I'm not having to remember to go back and change them, change those feeds and speeds. I can just say, okay, I'm cutting it this time out of cherry, and I can go in and select the right tool database for cherry, the right tool for cherry, and I don't have to go in and try to remember what did I use on that last time. It's it's going to be getting those things in there. That's going to be a lot of work, but once they're there, that could be cool.
Again, another time saver. That's one thing that I've noticed about version 10. It's again, if you put the work in, like you said, it's a time saver overall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was somebody, and again, I can't remember people. When I see something in Facebook, the next day I can't remember who it was and where I saw it and all that. But anyway, it was in one of the groups, I think, probably the Gatton CNC group, and somebody I think posted a picture at some time where with the old tool database, they had something their own little version of this where they had, you know, one for MDF and one for pine and one for you know, I can't remember who it was. If that was you and you're out there in the chat, speak up. I'd be interested. I can't remember who it was, but I'm, you know, and then this kind of, you know, kind of makes it, well, I guess it'll be easier once you get it set up, but it looks like it might take a minute to get it all set up correct.
Once you do get it set up, it's going to be much of a time saver. Also, they don't show it on that particular shot. They do on this next one down, where they're talking about online tool database. Back up just a little bit. They also have a selector all the way to the top right where it says machine. For instance, if you have your Gatton CNC and you also have a Garage Works, or maybe you have a small little imported machine for carving PCBs or something like that, you can select which machine you're going to use this on. And the tool database will change for that machine.
Oh, sweet. So they actually, so the profile will change as well? That's
exactly.
Fantastic.
Not only that, but where they're talking about online is once, for instance, if you've got 3 or 4 different computers that have the tool database on them, you can set it all up on one computer, then post your database online in the cloud for your use only. Open up your other computer and import that data and still use that database.
Nice.
So you don't have to change it in all three computers.
That's convenient.
Yeah, that's
not only that, it's a great place to back up your database. If something happens and you have to reinstall V-Carve, you can just download that database. You don't have to go back in and re-enter all your tools.
Yep. Okay.
What's next? It's good stuff.
Okay. Andrew N says each category folder was a material type. It may have been you that I saw, Andrew. He said he had his tools by category and then duplicated tools. Michael Chips are just getting here, I guess.
You know, if you're going to be late, you could call.
Some of the new things in V-Carve Pro 10. That's kind of what we're going over.
Yeah.
This one I think is going to be pretty cool too. Optimizing clearance tools in V-Carve toolpaths.
Yeah, now I was just looking at this right over here where it says V-bit 90 degree minus
1 inch diameter.
Oh, it's 1 inch diameter. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I thought that said minus 1 degree. I thought that maybe they were coming up with a way where you could put it in as a 90 degree V-bit, but if you found out it's really 89, you could do something like that really quick to.
No, you still got to do that manually.
Yeah.
Is that the clearance tool paths, Mark?
Yes,
for the
that's the multiple clearance tool paths. Like if you got to pocket out a large area with some text in it, you can come in and hog it all out with a half-inch bit, then come back with a 1/4 inch and do the outline of your.
There it is, Dave.
Then
the reason that I sunk the money into the upgrade. Just that alone is worth it, and everything else is gravy.
Then you can come back in with like an 1/8 inch bit and cut out the insides of your letters, then V-Carve with the V bit.
Yep.
And I already have
saver. And this time it's not your time, it's the machine's time.
And I was already told about a hack for this because this is offered in the V-Carve toolpath, but not the Pocket toolpath.
Yeah, you told me about this. Is great. Listen to this.
And a gentleman who is an absolute wizard with this stuff by the name of Michael Turner. If you've not friended him on Facebook, you really should. He is a wizard with this stuff. He has found out that if you're trying to carve a pocket and you want to use multiple tools like this, you can set up a V-bit with a 1/2 degree included angle on it, and then use a V-Carve toolpath with that 1/2 degree angle as your final V-bit, and then go ahead and run all those clearance paths for that pocket. Now, he said he's tried it, and over the course of 1 inch, the error is 4 thousandths. Excuse me, 4 10,000ths. So we're talking 0.0004 of an inch.
Yeah, the wood will swell more than that.
Exactly.
It's fantastic, and that right there is another. That's another big plus, because very oftentimes we find ourselves. I know I certainly do. Is when we're doing letters and we're doing raised letters, or especially with text on text, getting into those little corners, you're trying to decide what's the best clearance bit to use, because you don't want to start with a 1/4 inch when you can hog out so much more, so much quicker with a 1/2 inch. But then the 1/2 inch doesn't get into the tiny little grooves. I mean, we've all been through this. If you've ever done any type of text and pockets, and having multiple, because keep in mind, the smaller bits will not re-hog out the big area. It'll just come in closer and closer and closer.
It's kind of like rest machining that was very hard to do, in my opinion.
That's still a viable option, but it's only really available in Aspire.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, it was still a semi-manual operation. It was very difficult.
It is. And so far, that's only available on the V-carving toolpaths, the multiple clearance passes. But in their video, they demonstrate 4 different bits. And, you know, I don't know what the max amount is, but it would really be really cool.
All right, this next one here says depth first roughing. You have a depth first option can now be chosen, so that as you look at the example there, how it will finish one area before moving to another.
Right.
Instead of, which would save quite a bit of time, I would think.
It does. Sometimes it kind of balances out in the simulations that I've run. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to get out on the machine and start cutting yet. But on the simulations I've run, on the previews I've run previously, what it would do is it would, like in their instance where they're carving the 6 different the 6 different patterns there, the Z would plunge on the roughing toolpath down to a certain level, machine that out, pick up, move over to the next one, plunge down to that same level, machine it out, go on to the next one. Now it finishes roughing that entire little model, then moves over to the next one. That's
I like that, because that's one thing that always used to get me is when you see it doing those, you know, what I call a wasted move, but you know, I'm like, I don't know why it doesn't do that. Well, I guess now it can. So I like that. Okay. I definitely like that one. Toolpath groups. Toolpaths can be grouped within the toolpath tree.
That's fantastic.
Organize your toolpaths into logical groups to make managing complex jobs more straightforward.
I love it. I picked a horrible week to come out to the camper here. I downloaded it remotely, but I still haven't had a chance to put my fingers on it. I'm dying to get home now and just play with this thing.
You know that I don't know if I have ever showed y'all the toolpaths for the blank where I'm cutting the 21 Gatton CNC parts. There's I forget how many, you know, there's 21 parts, and then there's several toolpaths for each part, because I wanted it to, when I threw a blank on there, to run everything for the one part before it moved to the next part. And I think this will at least be able to make a little more sense. Because I had to name my things like part 1, you know, pocket, part 1, whatever, part 1, and then profile, you know. So this will help me to organize those. Although I've got it down so good now, I probably won't go to change it.
There's a lot of us OCD CNC carvers out that are going to really enjoy this.
Yeah, that's a nice feature there.
Joe Leiden has a question down there. Do you have to get V-Carve Pro to do all of this? This is all in version 10 of all of the programs. The majority of them. I mean, some of the V-Carve stuff is in V-Carve Desktop and V-Carve Pro. It's not in Cut 2D. So if you go to the Vectric website, like that's where Dave is right now, vectric.com/upgrade, then you'll select whether you have Cut 2D Desktop, Cut 2D Pro, or V-Carve Desktop, V-Carve Pro, or Aspire, and it'll show you what's new in your software.
And you could see a full comparison of all the different softwares and choose which one is best for you.
Oh, Karen is here. Hi, Karen. Sorry, that was on a personal level.
Yeah, she's
Karen runs the CNC Tips, Tricks, and Project Finishing Facebook group. It's an excellent group, and she ship over there.
Nice.
I was peeking over here at Restream, and it was actually showing one person watching on Twitch, but now they're gone. There's nobody over there. So, and according to this, we have like 89 folks watching on YouTube. So that's
cool.
That's excellent. All right, let's see. Apply templates to all sheets. Loading a template will now ask if you want to apply that template to every sheet in the job. Any toolpaths generated will be prefixed by their sheet number and in group toolpath tree.
That could come in handy.
Yeah.
I don't do multiple sheets. I don't have a full-size machine, so.
Okay, let's look at toolpath merging.
Oh, nice.
Yes. Now toolpath merging has been there for quite a while. If you have two toolpaths that use the same bit, you can merge those two toolpaths together. So it reduces the amount of G code, and you no longer have to wait for it to move on to the next toolpath. What they've changed is, before, if you merged two toolpaths together, then you needed to edit one. You had to eliminate that merged toolpath, do your edits, then merge them again. Now you can edit one toolpath or the other. And
so it's kind of like a group within a group. I mean, it's a group that they later re-G code into one.
Well, basically, yes. It takes two separate toolpaths. Like if you're going to drill holes and then pocket something, if it's using that same end mill, you can group it together and it'll pocket out till it gets to a certain point, drill the hole real quick, and then finish up the pocket.
That could come in handy. Come in handy.
But before, if you needed to edit like the depth of that pocket, you had to throw away that merged toolpath and start over. Now you can edit any of those toolpaths in the toolpath merging, and it won't eliminate it. It just updates it.
Got it.
Thank you, Larry, for that kind of comment. I like that.
That's right. Can't have too many thumbs up. So like early, like often.
Very well. Since I use StreamYard now, I don't see the thumbs up and thumbs down and all that kind of stuff until it's over. So, all right, I know what you're saying, Mark, because I've used that toolpath merging before, but the old way was kind of a pain because you would have to, pretty much get rid of the merge and edit something and go back and do it again.
Right.
This makes it a little better here. All right, we've still got a good bit of stuff to cover, and we're at almost on 9:30 here. Rotary toolpath projection. Toolpaths and rotary jobs can now be projected even if they fall outside the job. This creates for easier creation of spiral toolpaths.
Nice.
Yep.
That'll come in handy.
Okay. Material importing. Yeah. New material textures can be easily added to the software. If you have a picture of the material you want to add, you can just select the Add New Texture from within the Appearance drop-down menu to use that image for the material texture.
Oh, that'll be nice. So they'll probably create a sharing library with different materials at that point. That's
there's a texture library within the V-Carve folders in the application folder.
Ah,
What I did personally was I went in and I copied all those photos, put them in my photo editing program, and like you'll have preview textures where the grain runs up and down. I just turned them sideways, just rotated them 90 degrees and saved them as new textures. So now I'm not stuck with a long
right. With
sign
one orientation.
vertical texture. Exactly. It, you know.
Yeah, I've done that too, because a lot of times when you go to do something, the grain's going the wrong way.
The wrong way.
So you can change it and make the grain go the other way.
Exactly. Well, they've just made it easier to do. You no longer have to dive into that folder. You can just click that button and add a new texture, and it'll bring.
Yep.
All right, let me see what this one is here. Tab resizing, the Toolpath tab. Oh, they're talking about the.
Oh, that's nice. I can deal with that. Very oftentimes, if you're using,
you do that before.
What's that? No, you only had one size, and you either had to lock it in or lock it out. But if you, let's say you want to use let's say you want to shrink it a little or to get more space for your workspace, you never had that option. You either had to remove it entirely, and I personally like using both tabs, the Toolpath tab and the editing tab, both at the same time. I always lock them both in.
Huh. Well, you know me, I got to come try this.
Ooh, looks like you got a super chat over on the YouTubes, Dave.
Uh-oh. Let me get over here and look who we got here. Spending money.
Boy, Rick Palicki.
Okay, it's probably not. It's maybe taking it a minute to show up over here. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, and I don't know. I think you have to look close or you miss them too, because they don't show up as a super chat. I don't think in here. No, I don't see it yet. But anyway, if you said he did it, thank you, Rick. Much appreciated.
Yeah, I got to tell you, version 10 is. I mean, I've never been inspired to upgrade. I mean, you do so because you want to be up in the latest thing, but it's like one upgrade to another is not very substantial. But this is a milestone. This is night and day compared to the prior versions, I must say.
Yeah, there are some pretty big differences. Yeah, he says he gave you the super chat, Dave, because it's you all learned how to pronounce my name.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it's not showing up in here. Maybe they don't show up at all, but thank you, Rick. I appreciate it a lot. Okay, so yeah, I had to go check. That's what I was busy doing. I had to go open up because I still got 9.5 on here. I was thinking you can. Can you do the other side, the drawing tools? Can you pull that one out?
Yes, you can.
Okay, that's why, because I know I've done that before, but maybe I thought you just assumed you could do it on the other side as well. But
I like to go for as wide a work area as possible, so I don't leave them both open. I still switch tabs. I go from one side to the other.
Yeah, I do too. I like to have what I'm trying to look at as big as I can. So.
And a lot of folks will tile the 2D and 3D view as well. And even in my videos, I don't do that. I like to keep that full size window open there. I don't do that. I'll gladly click on a tab to go over to the 3D view.
If it were up to me, I'd have one screen with the drawing and the drawing tab on it, and the modeling screen with the toolpaths on another screen.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, we got a few things left here. Like I said, I apologize. We're going to run long. It's about 9:30, but we got just a few more things here. Default file dialogues. You can now use different settings for default file locations. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Use or choose to have the software remember specific locations for specific actions.
Right.
So always open images from my pictures directory. That's an example. or you could choose to always open the file dialogues in the folder of the current project.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how many times I've, done something the old way. You pull it up and it remembers wherever you last did something. And I go to save something, and then I get done and I go, okay, let me put it on the thumb drive, and I'm like, where did I put that? So I have to go back and open it up and hit save as just to see where it was putting it. So yeah,
Yep.
this will be
In there.
a nice little feature.
Oh,
All
look at
right,
that.
lithophane preview. The lithophane preview mode provides a simple way to visualize the lithophane effect on your simulated toolpath. Just enable the mode from within the simulation and use the slider to adjust the brightness to suit.
Does it allow for reversing of the image?
I don't think so.
It didn't say so.
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
Very nice, though.
Okay, let's see. V-carving text and intersection detection.
Yeah. This dovetails with what Jim was talking about earlier when we were talking about welding the text objects instead of having to convert it to curves.
Yep.
This now automatically lets you know that there's a problem. There are intersections there or something that needs to be cleaned up.
I think it opens up the troubleshooter automatically. So then it highlights what kind of problems you have after you weld it.
Right. It lets you know to run the vector validator. And that's when you have fonts that have problems. Font designers just generally, people design fonts thinking that they're going to be used with an inkjet or laser printer, and it's going to be filled with toner or ink, so they don't have to worry about little mistakes like that.
Well, and also the biggest problem with fonts is they normally start with the most common sizes, and that's it. And you cannot scale every font every way the same. I don't care if it is a vector image. It's scaling two different objects and having them connect to each other is just not possible.
Yeah, it takes a bit of doing. There's a little bit of work involved. So,
all right. Yeah, so that's I mean, if you look at the example, I know it may be hard to see it here, but if you go to their site and check all this stuff out, that's pretty cool that it finds the intersections.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Post-processor list favorites.
Oh, thank goodness.
When you save out Toolpath, we have made it easier for you to locate your favorite posts, where the post-processor list will now save the 5 most frequently used post-processors.
That's fantastic.
At the top of the list, allowing for a quicker selection of frequently used posts.
Yep.
Now, I will say that that's a nice option, but however, ever since they've had the My Post Processor folder, that's what I have used. So I only have my favorite ones in there anyway.
Yeah, see, I never went through the effort, and I should have, to remove all the ones or just hide them, all the ones that I don't use. Because, I mean, I have either the Cam Master or the Gatton or, I do. So it's just 2 or 3, tools and inches or automatic. And this is going to be a nice feature because
if you add a laser and then you add a rotary axis, you've got different posts for all of them. So
exactly.
It's gonna come in handy.
Well, I put mine in my posts, so it does the same thing already.
Oh yeah, using the My Post P folder.
Yeah. I only have 3. Actually, I only have 2 in there. One from my laser and one from my router. But it's in the My Post, and if you have anything in the My Post, that's all you're going to see. You won't see any of the others. So if you have 5, you can put them in My Post.
And actually, probably not a lot of people have thought of this, but even before they come up with the My Post P folder option, if you just went to all the, the Thermwoods and all the Laguna, all the stuff that you don't need, and you don't want to see that great big old long list all the time, all you have to do is copy and cut them and move them to another folder. That way you're not getting rid of them. If you ever do need them, you can bring them back. So even before, you could get it down to just what you wanted to use. But the My Post P folder made it where it's kind of like a favorites, but now I guess
now it's easier.
Yeah, it's even easier than that. So the only thing I wish is, and I'm just speaking for myself because I'm so forgetful, but there's been many I hate to admit it, but there's been a few times where I've been in here at my office, and I'll pull in a 1/4 inch end mill or 1/8 inch end mill or whatever and everything, and I'll hit save and save the Toolpath, put it on the thumb drive, take it out there to the Gatton, load it up, and then wonder why it's not doing anything. And I look at it and it's got laser code.
Yep.
So I wish there was some little ding that, like, if you had an end mill, they go, "Hey, dummy, what are you doing? You got an end mill."
Well, for me, it's kind of lucky because the Cam Master has an automatic Toolpath one, the ATC, because it has the auto tool, not the auto tool changer, but basically I run one Toolpath for all the tools, and the Gatton, you run one Toolpath for each tool. So when I go to the Gatton and it's accidentally on the other one, it'll give me an error that, hey, these tools are different. You can't do this, So that's my alarm.
Yeah, I get that one quite a bit too. All right, we're getting down here to the end here. Integrated help. Help for all forms can now be found using the integrated help function, which can be found if you click on the question mark icon on the top of each form to get the help for that specific function.
And that's going to help out the folks, especially who watch my channel, because if they get into they've started a profile Toolpath and all of a sudden brain cramp, what do I do here? Instead of going up to the help menu and going to help and then searching for it, you can just click that question mark up there at the top right of the profile Toolpath form. It'll take you right to the help on that section. It opens it up right there. So you can get help from within any of those forms just by clicking on that question mark.
I don't click on help. I run into the wall head first.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that help.
I'm only laughing because I do the same thing. It's like, I'm going to figure this out. If it kills,
forget this help. Help. That's
it
giving
doesn't
up.
matter that I've already used 3 blanks. The fourth one's going to be the charm.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. 3 blanks of material, and you've carved a 1/4 inch off of every one of your clamps.
Now Ryan Ballard's got a good idea for an upgrade Vectric should make. Just put an integrated help button that calls Mark.
Yeah. Your call will be ignored in the order in which it's received.
There you go.
You want to hear something funny? Before I even think of using the help button, I will either call Mark or you, Dave. Because when it's something that it's rare, but when it's something that I have no idea or clue on how to do, he'll be back. He hit the wrong button.
We lost the big D.
Yeah, Hey, welcome back, Dave.
Did you hit the help button, Dave?
I was testing that button out. I didn't get you, Mark. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, but when it's before I use the help button, I'll call a friend. I'll phone a friend.
And he doesn't call me no more because I just tell him to go watch my video.
You know better than that.
Got a question for you, Mark.
No, I'm not going to have a standard video out tomorrow. I'm going to do a similar live stream like this at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We're going to go dive into the version 10 upgrade on my channel as well. But no, I had a project. I could kind of give you a preview if you want to see it.
Okay, well, yeah, I just wanted to let people know. I mean, we've just kind of skimmed the surface talking about this tonight. You want to get the real skinny on this?
Well,
Watch Mark.
I'm not going to do a super deep dive. I mean, you've gone further in depth than I planned on going tomorrow. I was basically going to ask people about their experiences with how they found the download process, where to find the download process, and some of the changes that did come. I was going to spend some time on the tool database, especially. But
Mark is going to do something very, very light. It should only be like a 3-day marathon. So,
and that's, people have been asking me about that. About how are you going to talk about the changes? Well, the same way I talked about the changes when I upgraded from 8.0 to 8.5 to 9.0 to 9.5. I'll just integrate them into the new video.
Yeah,
one at a time.
And because I could really spend hours and hours and hours and hours going into each and every aspect, and ain't nobody got time for that.
Just talking about them lightly here.
Yeah.
Talk about them, so
We've been on.
We're going on 940, and see, we just kind of skimmed
over them.
We didn't really go into detail on anything.
Barry Curtis has a question there. Should we delete version 9.5? I haven't, and in fact, on my other,
I probably still got 4.6 around somewhere. I never deleted it.
I have 6, 8, 8.5, 9, 9.5, and now 10. And there's a reason that you want to keep them, and that is other people may not, again, balk at the price or whatever. They may, for whatever reason, not have the latest one. And if you want to send a V-Carve file or something, remember they're not
they're
new
not
version.
compatible.
They're not backward compatible. So.
Right.
Yeah, I got a friend that's going to be on version 9 for a while, and I kept my 9 because we converse a lot and help each other out. So.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, not only that, but I mean, I don't know. I'm just too Scottish, and if I paid that much money for something, I'm keeping it. The
only thing I would say, the only thing, and for all I know, it's there. The only thing that I see missing that I would love to see on any of the Vectric units is a save as feature for saving a prior version.
I'm with you there.
That would be, I mean, Photoshop has it, Illustrator has, every Adobe product, every Microsoft, every product on the face of the earth, practically, the popular ones have it. I don't know why Vectric doesn't have, well, I mean, it might be an issue of complicated programming, but I'll tell you,
the issue is though the newer versions have things that aren't available in the others, so they could not use it.
I understand, but like all the other programs, they will just cut out whatever is unusable. If you're talking about just a simple, I'm not talking about the toolpaths. I'm talking about the vector itself, and there's nothing to transferring the vector and the.
Well, for that, depending upon what it is, I mean, you can also export it as a DXF, and if you're talking about a 3D model, you can export as an STL.
Right.
But
right.
But that's another misconception, and people are finding out as they go through this upgrade. When you upgrade, it's not like they're just adding files to your version 9.5. This is a whole new installation. You have separate programs.
Yeah.
And certain things just will not work from the older version with the newer version. They just don't work the same way. They've changed the code. They've changed the programming. A lot of it looks the same, but a lot of it doesn't run the same.
Absolutely. I can see that. It's just if you're using some of the fancy features, then I would even be happy if it says, I'm sorry, because of the features you used, it's not possible.
But
you got to think like Microsoft though. They're not even supporting Windows 7 anymore or any of the previous versions. So it's a nightmare to maintain previous versions and everything.
Yes.
It's an very high expense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as a result, now I got 20 different versions on my computer, you know, and if somebody asks me for an older version, I have to start with that older version. It's annoying.
That's the payment, right?
Yep. That's why you add that to the price.
I want to get to this question here. Thomas Grimm wants to know, will version 10 work on a machine that has no internet access? Absolutely it will.
Yeah.
You may have to temporarily connect it to internet to get the license confirmed. No, you don't have to do that. Okay, great.
Not
okay.
if you do it right. I mean, you got to have the license and your username exactly the way they have it.
You'll just have to type it in manually. Okay.
What I always do is I'll take the email that they send that has that new big long code. And I always, as soon as I buy the new version or upgrade or whatever it is, I always go to a notepad file and basically cut and paste that email so that I have that version. So if something happens, I don't have to go to that portal to get that code. I've got it. And then all I do is I put that notepad file on my thumb drive and carry it out to the shop. As well as the download file for the setup file, whatever you call it these days. And so you don't have to be on the internet at all to do it. And of course you could write that number down on a piece of paper if you want to take half a day to type it in. But I like to just be able to copy and paste everything right in there. And so it works fine like that. I mean, if you wanted to turn it on and put it on the internet for a minute, you could do it that way. But if you're already not on the internet, you probably don't have virus protection and all that stuff. So
the only thing you would need internet for is for downloading future templates or help files, clip arts, things like that that don't come stock with it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if there was I didn't know that it would allow you to go in and manually add that license code.
Yeah.
Is what I was doing.
And as far as
on version 10, if you looked at it, if you go through your VNCO account, it has your name and your code and also a button that says copy.
Right.
So as soon as you hit it, you got a copy of it. It's
copied on your clipboard and you can paste it in a notepad like Dave said and then take that document outside with you. Yeah. Okay.
But, and the stuff Hobby was just talking about, you don't even have to be online to do that. As long as you're online to get it on one computer, you can put it on whatever other computer you want to. You've got the files. You just got to know where to find them and how to, like that last time they had a bunch of the Clipart type folders and
the free Christmas stuff.
Well, that too, but just the other stuff. And as long as you download each one of those, I mean, whatever's on there that's free that you can get, I get it whether I'm going to use it or not. Now, sometimes I won't even bother installing it on some of the other computers because I have it here on the office computer. And, if I'm going to do thing here, I can do it. But you can also put it on the thumb drive or whatever and not have to do it on the internet. So,
right.
I just, me, I'm not a fan of putting your machine computer on the internet. I know a lot of guys do.
Me either. I don't either.
If you don't have it on the internet, I just use a thumb drive to copy all those files and install it, all of that. In the same way, like I said, just put your license code and username and everything, copy and paste it so that you got it exactly the way they have it, and put it on a notepad file or whatever, and just take it out there, and then you could bring up Notepad, highlight it, copy it, plug it right in there, and you don't have to type that. That number's long, man. Numbers and letters and symbols and all kinds of stuff. It's ridiculous how it is.
Yes, you can, Troy. You can copy the folders that they're in. They're in your application data folder. Sorry about that, Dave. I didn't bother to ask the question. You can pull
Well, that's why I always like to highlight them so that
Yeah.
other people can know what the question was.
Right. You can, if you go into the application data folder, and there's a shortcut, I believe it's in File, go up to the File menu, open Application Data Folder. You can copy that folder, put it on a thumb drive, take it outside, and install it that way. So, yes, you can.
Yeah, yeah. The short answer, I guess, is you only need to be on the internet on one computer to get everything.
Get everywhere.
You got it there. You can, if you want to move it to a shop computer or whatever, you can do it with a thumb drive with no problem.
That's right.
But you don't want to be using your Vectric software when you're cutting the design either, though.
No. And I don't even have V-Carve installed on my computer outside. I'm with Andrew on this. I use an old Windows XP computer. It's dedicated to Mach 3. That's all it does. It can't go online. I don't play solitaire. When that thing gets turned on, Mach 3 gets loaded. That's all it does.
Yeah, I've always liked having V-Carve Pro on the computer too, just so, because I'm so forgetful. If I get out there, and especially if I go out to my shop around back and I get out there and then I go, oh crap, look at me. I used the post for the router now I'm on the laser, so I can just pull it up and real quick change it right there instead of having to come all the way back in here.
Yeah, but usually by that time I'm frustrated and need a break anyway, so I'll go grab a iced tea and then sit down and make my changes and then go back.
Yeah, I used to always tell people, don't be fooling around with anything else when you're running Mach 3.
Exactly.
But I have even been breaking that rule myself a lot lately. I'll go to V-Carve Pro and work on something else. Out in my shop, I've even been playing my media player with a playlist. I think, that computer, that's one I got from Michael Chipser out there. And it's not that it's really super fast. I think it's an old Dell or something. But I think it's got Windows 7, I believe, on it. But, I think the technology has gotten better now that I'm not using parallel ports and stuff like that. I haven't had any issue with it stopping because I was doing something else. But I don't get crazy. I wouldn't try to
I have
add software and try to draw something, like 3D modeling software. So nothing like that. But
my computer is basically underneath my machine. I've got a keyboard and most of the stuff. The only thing I do, I transfer from one to another, and I have a completely isolated network. All I do is transfer the file into the shop computer, and I use my joystick. I click open on the joystick and I scroll and choose the file. It's that simple, and then run, and everything else is Mach 3. And in answer to Glenn's question, you don't need an antivirus on a computer that's not connected to the internet. And it's never going to change, never going to upgrade.
I mean, that's the key. The question we have to ask you is, are you connected to the internet? If you're connected to the internet, then you should have a antivirus on there.
And a firewall.
Yeah, all that stuff that causes stuff to go wrong.
Yeah, and then that's where the problem is.
Problems. Yes, and that's why, like I said, I'm running the same old HP computer with Windows XP I've been running for 5 years, and it won't do any of that stuff. I mean, no
automatic updates, automatic scans for virus. Every one of those things is going to completely mess up your program at the worst possible time, 30 hours into a carve.
It doesn't even set itself for daylight savings time. I don't think it's had the correct time on it in 2 years. I don't care. I have a watch.
Well, it's probably going to be right 6 months out of the year.
No, because it thinks it's the 23rd of April today, I think.
Oh, okay. It doesn't matter.
It does not matter. No, it does one thing. It runs Mach 3 and then it gets turned off, and that's it.
All right, guys, we've had a pretty long-winded session tonight. It's been fun talking about V-Carve Pro, but we got some homing switches, limit switches, whatever you want to call them, and an e-stop to give away tonight.
All righty.
remember last week we did the, I think I still got it on here, the e-stop switch, hashtag e-stop switch.
Yep.
I went through today and rounded those up, and I've got them on this pretty little wheel over here, which I just realized I lost my screen share thing a while ago.
Wheel of Dave.
Yeah, the Wheel of Dave. So this is the names. Now, again, if you're looking at this thing and you go, hey, wait a minute, I don't see my name on there. Either you didn't put the hashtag right and the search didn't find it, or you waited until, you know.
Or in my case,
just an hour or so. Huh?
Or in my case, you didn't enter.
Yeah, there you go. But I mean, basically the cutoff, I'm calling the cutoff is Friday. You still could get in on it on Saturday if you do it early enough, as long as it's before I do the search, because I'm only going to do this one time. I go through and I go to YouTube and do the search, and it finds all the ones that's in the video comments section, not the live chats comment section. And then I go to Facebook and do the search over there, and it find, you just put in the hashtag and it finds them wherever they are. So this is what I have. I don't even remember how many there are, probably 20 or so. So you've got pretty good odds. Again, the rules are always the same, folks. Everybody's got one chance. So even if I found more than one, like somebody might have done it on Facebook and on YouTube or something like that, you're only entered on here one time. And you have to be watching live if your name is picked to be able to claim it. So, and as I mentioned last week, I know there's at least one person on here that's from down under. If I'm trying to include everybody, so if you win, basically what I'm doing is I did this with Ryan Ballard, who won the pendant last week. I just order it on Amazon, have it shipped to him. So it doesn't cost me anything for shipping. All I'm having to pay for is the actual thing. So if somebody like from Australia or, Germany or wherever would happen to win, I'll reimburse you for buying exactly what I was going to give away. If that's, because I think every country's probably got an Amazon. Good Lord, they're everywhere. But so that's the way I'm going to do it. And if we don't have any other questions, let me get over here and check out the questions. Rick Polecki says, thanks for the information, gentlemen. Good show. Thank you. All right. So we're going to go ahead and I hope nobody thought we weren't going to do the giveaway and left because we got so long. But anyway, here we go. We're going to go with the first name here, and we'll see. Oh, let me get my phone ready. Let me do that real quick. Because you'll have 90 seconds. I know there's a lag. And I have found, I've been watching a lot of streams. Yeah, it's still set up from last week. That YouTube has a much longer lag than Twitch, or Twitch is really fast. There's a guy who does a Friday night game show that's fun to watch. But if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the people that are watching him on Twitch post the answer before he even gets the question out on YouTube. So,
yes, Karen, there will be a link after the at the end after the show.
Yeah, she says, is this going to be on YouTube later so I can post a link in my group? Yep. Okay, absolutely. So here we go. I'm going to hit the little spinny thing and get to see my head spin around, and we'll see who it comes up with. Okay. Earl Walker.
You have 90 seconds.
You have 90 seconds.
Come on, Earl.
And I don't know that I've seen an Earl Walker out there.
I haven't, but Could be the strong silent type.
David Frank says no audio.
I thought we had audio. I hear it.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'm deaf.
Huh?
I got I have to apologize to my buddy Jim Senicola. He's been on the bottom of the totem pole. And of course, every time I, show a comment when we're in this view, he kind of gets the short end of the stick. So
Why don't you switch us, Dave? Pop me out, pop me back in, and drop them. I'll take turns.
It doesn't matter.
Nobody wants to see my face, so what the heck?
He just drew the short straw tonight. That's what happens when you come in late, see, because the last one that comes into the stream, that's where they end up, on the bottom.
Yeah.
Okay, Earl, you got about 10 seconds. I think this is going to be the first night in a long time where somebody's entered and they did not watch. So let's see if y'all hear that.
Yep.
There we go.
Yeah, time's up.
All right, Earl. Sorry, but if you watch this later, you're going to see. Let's see. Let me remove his. I think there's a way to do that. I thought.
I just spin it again.
I don't see it. Yeah. All right, so we'll spin it again. Yeah, it's the first time we've had to do it. You might know it'd be when we have the really long show. All right, now we've got Dave Clemens. Is Dave Clemens out there?
I think I saw Dave earlier.
He was here earlier.
Dave Clemens.
Let's see if he's out there.
Or did he bail at the 1 hour mark? Dave.
Yeah, see, now this will be really crazy because, I mean, all the stuff, the guitars and all the stuff I've been giving away lately, everybody's always here and gets it on the first run. But now,
It was a two-hour show. Maybe he wasn't interested in V-Carve.
There he is. Okay.
Yay!
All right.
Congratulations, Dave. I don't know. I think I might have your address, but if not, I'll be getting in touch with you and make sure I have the correct address, and I will get those sent off. And in case I didn't bring them with me, but what he won, folks, is, and I don't have the e-stop here. It's out in the shop, but he won a pack of 6 of these limit/homing switches and the little yellow e-stop button that I showed last week. And that's why it's out there, because I showed all that stuff out there. And you notice, I don't know if y'all can tell, my table back here is all cleaned off.
Uh-oh. Does that mean you got a new machine coming?
I don't know what's going to end up on that table, but there'll be something new coming up here pretty soon.
Uh-oh.
On the table. I had to make some room. And also I have all these little, y'all can't read what these say, but these are all little plaque-like things from the meetups. This one right here is the one that Becca Miller made for me for the Texas meetup. And then this is for the same Texas meetup. I made this up, took it out there, and then had everybody sign it. And then when we had the meetup that you were there, Javi, at Melinda's.
Yeah.
This is the one I had everybody sign that one. And I've had these out in my shop, and I'm thinking all they're doing is sitting out there getting dusty. Nobody ever sees them. So I thought I'll bring them in here and clean them off and hang them up where people can see them. So
now I got to drive all around Florida, make a Florida one, and drive around and get signatures to send you one of those.
Yeah.
Well, you haven't had a Florida meetup yet, so it would be that would be cheating.
Well, there's a whole 3 of us. I think I can. There's a lot more than that.
Yeah, we got a lot of congrats for Dave Clemens here. He says, where was it? He says he will add those to his hardware for his Gatton. He's currently staining the parts, so good for him.
All right, that's the way to go. I remember that well.
Somebody's taking a guess at what it might be, creating a new laser machine.
I think it's just going to be a guitar stand.
Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, I had to move all those blasted guitars. I still got a few of them in here. Oh, which reminds me, I know we got to get out of here, but next week we'll be doing the live drawing for that license plate guitar. Let me get over here and do my, excuse me, next week we'll be drawing for that. And if you have not entered, I think there's about 30, I want to say 33 folks entered. So the odds are really good right now. There's a link below. Like I said, a link below for all kinds of stuff. But there's a link that will take you right to the place where you can enter to win that license plate guitar, which will be this one right here. So make sure you come back next week for that. That's always a lot of fun. I'm going to try to get all 33 names put on the wheel. I like it better with the names. I don't know if y'all do or not, but I like it better like that. I think that works out good. So I still thought there was a...
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
There's a question here from Troy Pritchard about the safety orange. General Finishes has an orange color, and that's what I used on my Gatton CNC, and it looks great.
They do make a safety orange wood dye, but y'all are forgetting that the Gatton CNC color is blue.
Blue.
See, blue and gray. That's why I used gray stain on mine and did the lettering in blue.
Yeah.
As did I.
I mean, they'll still run really good. No matter, if you could paint it pink, it wouldn't matter. It would still run good.
I have to disagree. I have to disagree. The only way the Gatton will run properly without any failure is if you paint it Gatton blue. That's it. And you have to have the Gatton CNC on the front.
In the Batman Forever.
In the Batman Forever alternate font, or it will not work.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
just saying.
Michael Murray.
Yeah.
Painted his. Well, I say painted. It may be that orange stain.
It's really nice. It's really nice.
But yeah.
Yeah, I did mine. I like it. Orange.
Safety orange and black. That's a good color combination. I like my orange Garage Works and all that with the black decal on the front and back. Looks,
but that's like painting a Chevy engine Ford blue. You just don't do it. No.
Well,
orange is Garage Works, Gatton CNC is blue and machine gray. I mean,
I just want people to buy them. I don't know what color they paint them. So
well, it's been almost 2 years, and it's time for me to do a Gatton CNC review, and it's still got the original colors on it. So I'm gonna.
Yeah, you have one of the better looking Gattons that I've seen. Although, let's see, who is it? Hold on, I'll think about it in a minute. Robert Smith. I don't think he ever watches the show, at least not live, because I don't think I've ever seen him out there in the chat. But he's the one that did kind of a red and black two-tone with the on the gantry. It's like it's not straight. It went at an angle instead. That looked pretty sharp. I like that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I guess we're going to get out of here. Oh yeah, Andrew Haig's got a nice looking color too. Yeah, I forgot about that.
He's got a nice looking machine.
Yeah, his is really slick.
I still think the absolute best looking machine, I'm sorry, Dave, it's not a Gatton CNC. It's the shoestring budget CNC. The old plans you used to give away. And that was Charlie Mitchell got those plans And Charlie Mitchell just happens to have a little bit of equipment available to him because he works for a little operation called Andretti Racing.
Yeah, Andretti.
And he cut some of the parts out of aluminum and cut the rest of them out of hickory. And oh my God, is that a sweet looking machine?
Yeah,
That thing looks too beautiful to use.
yeah. There's some pretty ones. You know. Of course, I've always said, out of all the Gatton CNCs that I see on Facebook and stuff like that, mine is the ugliest one. But I don't care because mine runs like a top. Yeah, it's. I mean, I love that thing. I don't care how ugly it is.
Now, you've been making Gatton CNCs on that machine for how long? About 2 years now, haven't you? Well, over 2 years, because I believe
over 3 years.
Over 3 years.
Yeah, I started cutting them in like. I finished the plans in June of 2016 and started cutting them shortly after that.
Okay, then you built
over 3 years.
Big green beast. So if any of y'all are concerned about the durability of a Gatton CNC, or you're worried about the aluminum rails and not steel, just know that every Gatton CNC kit out there, every single one, has been cut on the same machine Dave built 3 years ago. So if you doubt their durability, order one and check out the parts.
Yeah, I love that machine. Like I said, it's ugly, but I don't care.
Ugly's ugly skin deep.
You know, and again, I love seeing a pretty machine like yours, Mark, or Robert Smith's or Andrews and all that stuff. They're nice, but I keep, I always try to remind folks that you don't have to do all that. If you want to do all that, you can. But, that doesn't affect the way they run,
But there's
whether they're painted or stained or black or pink or purple or whatever color, it doesn't matter. They're going to run the same way.
But there's such a thing as pride of ownership.
Pride of ownership.
And with me, it was a practical thing because I live in such a humid environment. Literally, the first machine I cut was that. I froze up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, just for a second there.
The first machine I ever cut was that shoestring budget machine. And over the winter, because it's so humid here, it started to mold. So I had to seal all those parts. And I figured,
the area of the country where you live, I would definitely recommend painting it or something. But
it does need to be sealed to keep that humidity out of there. Otherwise, it will start to delaminate, mold, and mildew if you live in a high humidity like me.
I really had big plans and good intentions when I was building mine. I did stain some of it red mahogany, and I had plans to come back and put clear on it and all that. But then it got to the point where people were ordering the kits left and right, and I'm like, I don't have time. I got to get this baby running, So the top and bottom of the gantry are still bare plywood. They don't even have anything on them. Dust. But the other part that's stained, I put red mahogany, Minwax red mahogany on it. And the only reason I did that is because I had a big can of it that I need to get rid of. So I used that, and but mine, I don't care. Mine's the ugliest one out there, and I'm happy that it runs the way it does.
Yep.
It keeps on knocking those kits out for other folks.
So there's your proof, folks. If you doubt their durability, there's your proof.
Yeah, Harry Vaughn says his is covered in Formica. I wouldn't mind putting like a metal Formica just to try one out, a new one. I got crazy ideas for a future one.
Go whole hog and machine you one out of aluminum if you're going to do that.
That's expensive. I like the wood. I got a 7 foot.
I don't know.
Oh, I got a 7 foot long gantry on my Colossus, and it can hold 270 pounds. So me surfing on it. So I think I'll stick with the wood. I know aluminum, that's expensive.
Yeah, we need to get out of here, guys. It's 10:15.
Yeah, my wife's threatening to bust out the bagpipes.
There you go.
There you go.
We got to go. So anyway, make sure y'all come back next week. Like I said, we're going to do the guitar giveaway. The week after that, there will not be a CNC show, but there may be some other kind of show. I'm hoping that works out. There's not really anybody here watching now, maybe one or two that might know, but I'm going to my high school reunion that weekend, and there's a lot of folks that, for whatever reason are unable to attend and everything. And I got the idea the other day. I think I'm going to just, after the dinner and everything, probably around 8, maybe
do a live stream.
I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to take my equipment up there and do a live stream. And that way the people that are unable to come can kind of see what's going on. And if they're watching and they go, hey, is so-and-so there? I can run and get that person and have them come back and, invite them on the show, send them a link. And so maybe that'll work out. I think it will.
You're gonna have more CNC guys looking at your high school reunion than your own high school.
Yeah. It's just gonna be a bunch of old people. That's pretty much what it's gonna be.
We're a bunch of old people.
I was going to say, like, this show ain't.
Yeah. Well, it's even older than you guys.
Yeah.
But anyhow, all right. So we're going to get out of here. Let me get this thing ready to go here. If I figure out where I'm at. Thank you all very much for watching. Thanks again for whatever super chats and donations and stuff y'all hit me up with. I appreciate it. And we will see y'all next week. Everybody have a great weekend. Good night, folks.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, all.
Tomorrow.